guess I'll start out by building a signal. This is a board. You can buy these. They come 3 in a pack. They're a very generic type of railroad signal. It's got the LEDs, 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom. First thing I'll do is cut that clean off, and then start building the mast up from the solder pad here. And then the other wires get soldered on, and the bottom part gets plugged into a connector that's tied into a ribbon cable. A friend of mine gave me a schematic, and I went ahead and built this. It needs some better labels, but basically just plug this in up here, and then I can hit the different buttons for, that's for green high, yellow high, red high. It's got an auxiliary, but I'm not using it, so that's a total of 8 outputs, 4 on the top, 4 on the bottom. Again, green, yellow, red, and then I can, depending on which way the traffic is coming and how it's plugged in, I can flip it around this way as well, test it. So it's handy. This I've never had a board be bad, but it's just a good way to test your signal after it's finished. I'll go ahead and do a quick shoot of the finished. This is a signal I built just a little bit ago. The face, or the target, is painted black. I have not painted the back side or pretty much the rest of it. I'm going to paint like a silver or a aluminum. It's not on. It's kind of hard to see, especially when it's black. But the wires, you can kind of see those red wires going across. You got to solder all that. Up close like this, they look like pretty heavy-duty cables, but there's my finger compared to the wire. So they're fairly small. And then you can see at the base here is where I attach to the board that I was showing recently. And then that ties, let's see if I can get an underside shot. Yeah. Plugs into this board, or not board, it's a connector, and that connector's pinched onto the it's called ribbon cable. It's 10 conductor ribbon cable, and then that goes back to this board here. There's 3 ribbon cables coming off it. It'll handle up to 8. And each one of these boards handle up to 32 signal heads. So this one right here is considered 2 because it's got the high and the low. It's got the red, yellow, green, and then red and green. The one on the top tells the engineer what the status of the track straight ahead here on the main line is, and then the bottom signal tells the status of what's on the siding here. Right now the switch is aligned for the siding. If it was over this way, it would be for straight. Now, right now, every signal that I've put in just comes up green. And then later I'll program everything into the computer, and the computer is what drives the signals. So everything has block detection. So when the train is rolling along the track, the computer can pick that up. It can sense where the train is, but not exactly where it is, only in blocks. So if you picture a sidewalk and you're standing in one square, then that's like saying you're in that block. But as soon as you step over the crack into the next square on that sidewalk, now you're in the next block. And that's how the computer follows it. If we get in here real tight, you'll see that there's a break in the rail. And so I don't forget, I write it over here. Go in this direction is block number 1. From that cut in the rail back this way is block number 2. Then there's 2 more signals when you're approaching the switch. Now these are just single head, and again, when they're lit, it'll tell the condition of traffic ahead and or which way the switch is thrown. I mean, right now this could be either green or yellow, because this switch is set so this train right here could pull out. So the only reason it would be red is if there was another train just ahead. This one would need to be red, or else a train on this track would run the switch, run against the switch and derail. Now the next signal back would be yellow, and the signal before that would be green. So in order, the engine traveling would see green and knows that it can go ahead. Then the next signal it would hit would be yellow. That would tell it to slow down to a restricted speed. And the next signal is within sight. And if it's red, like it would be in this case, then the engine must stop. It cannot pass the signal without being in violation. And it's not like a traffic light. When you pass a signal like that, the central dispatcher knows, and you can do it just one time and you'll be lucky if you don't lose your job, or at least be relieved of duty and be penalized. And following this is an intermodal train, and at this end it basically has the same thing going on. 2, and then another single here. Over here I've started placing just the connectors themselves, just the board, and as soon as I get more of these built, then I will just pop this out, and it just comes right out. And then down inside there is the connector. And so depending on which way it's going, and you really got to pay attention, these things are kind of tricky to plug in, so I don't yank them out too often. But it does make a difference what direction you're going. If I take this and turn it around, it'll plug in, but then it'll act like these two. It gets a little confusing when you look at this, which is called a switch element, on this side. That's why the signal has two heads on it for A1 and A2. Coming from a single track, you got A1 and A2. A1 going straight ahead, A2 going off to the siding. So you got two pieces of information that signal needs to show. When you get over on this side, going this direction, this is aspect B and this is C. So again, A1, A2, B, and C. So that's all I'm really worried about putting in right now. I want to get these sidings and start getting the layout more functional. I know the layout. It's 240 feet on the main line wrapping around, but even I get a little confused about, you know, what's going where, and if I'm running with somebody, it'd be pretty embarrassing to have a head-on. So once I get some of these signals up, at least at the switches, and then next I'll move into the traffic side of things. But I'm going to go ahead and build one of the signals, and I'll document some of that. Okay, these are the individual pieces. Just plastic, little piece of brass rod. I won't use the resistors that come with it because they already have surface mount resistors on this board, so I don't have to mess with those at all. But let's see, a little brass ladder. These are the LEDs, and I'm going to go ahead and make sure that all of them work. It's pretty smart beforehand. You don't want to get this thing together and find out that one's blown, because it's not easy to work on afterwards. I'm going to go ahead and shoot the front of these two targets with flat black paint. Alright, what I've done is I pulled one of the ones that was inserted over there, and I just kind of use it as a guide. I'll take the new mast pole, make sure it's the right length and everything. Some of them are a little longer or shorter. I'm trying to keep some consistency going. I went ahead and painted the targets already, and I did go and check all the LEDs. They all lit fine. What I do is I usually come in and find which end is better on this thing, and then I'll come back and go into the end that's going to go into the board, and I'll just put the knife into the end and just kind of twist that some and work my way out. I'm not putting a lot of force on it, but what I'm doing is I'm scraping away the sharp edge, because I'm going to be running very, very thin wire. This is the wire I use. It has insulation on it, but it's not your typical type that you can strip. What you have to do with this, I'll try to put it up to my hand so you can see, is just take a knife edge and scrape off, and there's just copper underneath there. So what I'm going to do first is take one of the boards and cut that top portion off, and then we're going to go ahead and solder this on that pad that's down here, right there, that big shiny pad. Okay, went ahead and cut that off. It's just this end piece is pretty much just trash after you're done. You cut it off, toss it aside, and put the mass in place. I wrap these wires around, tie them tight, that way it holds this nice and tight. I'm going to go and hit all this on that pad with solder, some on the back side here, and then I'll go ahead and snip off these pieces flush. Okay, the mast is soldered into place. The next step is I'll go ahead and find where I need to. I'll sand me a hole on the side of the mast here, and that's where the main wires will feed down and out the bottom here. Next, I've gone ahead and taken the LEDs. You fold the leads over because they're flat to start out with, like so. You just got to take the leads and bend them around so they're sticking up like so. And then there's a little black stripe on the back. You just have to take my word because you won't be able to see it. Pay attention to which one you're putting it in. This is the green one, so it'll go on my signal on the bottom. I'll just plug that right in there. Now, some of them are pretty tight fit, some are loose. This one's pretty good and tight. A few of them are glued, so I'll let it set up for a bit. Okay, what I've done is I went ahead and snipped the leads on the LED short, and this wire running up through there is the common. It's going to have positive going to each one, and then next I will solder on 3 wires individually, and that's what will turn on each light individually. Okay, earlier I filed out the holes, 2 chases for the wires. Now I've got the rest of this wired up, the common along with its separate wires coming off each LED. So what I'll do now is I'll go ahead and test that again to make sure the LEDs all light up properly. And then once they're tested, then I'll go ahead and do the same with the little 2 LED target. Okay, all the LEDs are checked out. They all work. Next thing to do is go ahead and pull off all these parts that slide onto the mast. You got to do it in the correct order, because if you go running wires down the chase before you put some of the other parts on, that'll be a problem. So you got the base has to slide on. You got this like a little catwalk thing, got to slide on, and I usually do the top one first, so I'll go ahead and put these 2 supports, this grate or catwalk, and this bottom one at least, and then I'll go ahead and run my wires on down, and then slide things up as I need them. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. And they're not quite the right size, so I got to go through and ream out the hole in every one of these. But what I'd like to do is slide all these down, get everything out of the way, and now I'll go ahead and start feeding the wire for the top signal all the way down and through, and I'll slide this bottom portion up where it should be and glue it, and then there's another piece I haven't put on yet that'll slide on from the top, and it just kind of sandwiches that signal head, and then I'll move on to the next one. So I got the signal on here just loose right now. I'm showing that I just kind of put a little zigzag in the wire there, so when it goes in there I'm not binding it against the metal of the pole, the mast. It'll pop right in that hole, and then all the wires are coming out the bottom here loose right now. Okay, I got the wires soldered on the back here. I got this one's really short. I really misjudged that when I cut it, and I soldered onto these 4 pads. One is common, and then the other 3 for the different lights. And that's where this tester comes in handy. So I can just plug it in, press the different lights, make sure each one works. They do. So I'll go ahead and now I'm ready. I can move this walk. I like to just push it up out of the way, and then once I get the head on there, then I'll just center this by eyesight, because it's a little trickier to get the head on there than it is to line one of those walks. So it's always better to go and put the head in place and get it fixed first. Okay, got the bottom portion wired up. It's only green and red, so that's the only two I need to check on that one. I had one come loose on the back side here where it's soldered. That's never happened before. But that just goes to show the importance of checking every one of them as you go. Now I'm going to go ahead and stagger out the walks correctly and go ahead and move this down. I like to put a little bit of Scotch tape around this bottom here because of all the loose wire. It kind of just keeps it from getting snagged on anything. Okay, I've gone ahead and glued everything in place and got the ladder on the back, and that's pretty much it. I'll go ahead and stick it in here one last time for a test. That's pretty much it. The only other thing I'll do is, I said, paint the backside like a silver or aluminum color, steel, whatever, and then it's ready to plug into the railroad.